if I had known this earlier, my pictures would have been way better, way sooner. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's show is OCF Friday. Today we're going to talk about Off Camera Flash. We're going to talk about the basics and everything you need to get started, to get you started on the right path, to stop you from making mistakes that I made when I started. And that can save you a lot of time and get you going. So get all strapped in and ready for some Off Camera Flash talk. I'm going to go straight to the point, what you need to know, and how to improve upon your craft. So I have a few steps that I've written down, and I'm just going to go down those steps. So the very first thing, before you start considering off-camera flash, make sure that you have mastered natural light. Make sure that you have a complete understanding of the exposure triangle. Make sure that you understand what the shutter speed does, what the ISO does, what the aperture does. Because once you introduce off-camera flash, everything gets a little bit more complicated. The ISO all of a sudden becomes a little bit more sensitive. The shutter speed all of a sudden has restrictions. There are some shutter speeds you cannot go past, otherwise you dive into high-speed sync. And sometimes you don't want to go into high-speed sync if one of your flashes is not high-speed sync capable. So these are things that will complicate your life once you dive into off-camera flash. So make sure that you understand natural light photography very well before off-camera flash. Otherwise you get frustrated at the shoot. I don't want you to be frustrated. I want you to enjoy what you're doing. So, all right, that's from me to you. Now that you are a pro at taking natural light pictures, the next thing you have to do is decide with a brand and stick with it. Find a good brand that makes all levels of flashes, from speed lights to little strobes to big mono lights to big strobes, and stick with them, because the transmitter will talk to all the lights the same. So personally, I have decided to go with Godox. Godox, makes different kinds of flashes, and with the same transmitter, I'm able to control every flash that I set up in a room. I could set up 5, 6 flashes and still control them with the same controller. You just have to learn how to put them in different groups and how to change the power output of each one of them. It's a whole different learning cycle. Now that you have picked a brand, now it's time to practice. Learn how to operate your flashes under pressure. Set up your flashes, change stuff randomly. Imagine something has gone wrong and you have to, dial this one down by 2 stops, bring this one up by 1 stop, bring this one down by half a stop. Practice that so that you can make changes off the top of your head. That is the only way you are going to be able to survive a stressful wedding day. You have to be able to make quick changes off the top of your head. So practice, know your flash inside and out, know your transmitter inside and out. Learn how your transmitter works, learn how your flashes work. Understand the capability of your flashes. Understand how long the batteries in your flashes last, so that you're not shooting a 4-hour event and then the last 2 hours one of your flashes was not going off, but you didn't know. You should have an idea how long each battery lasts and what kind of flash, and you get what I mean. All right, so let's move on. Now, the fourth tip. This tip, it took me several years. I'm still learning, but it has been the most important learning curve for me as a photographer, because if I had known this earlier, my pictures would have been way better, way sooner. I don't know if you get what I mean, but I was trying to fight nature. I was trying to fight the sun. I was trying to fight the sunset. I was trying to overpower stuff with my flashes, and I was doing it wrong. When you do that, the contrast is high. You're not able to blend the flash with the ambient light, and then the picture just looks flashy. When I say flashy, not in a good way. It looks kind of too exposed. So, in the nutshell, this is very important. Work around the available light. If the available light is doing something, think about how you can complement that. Think about how you can position your subject in a way that you can use the available light as a rim light or a backlight or a hair light, and then work your flashes around it. Don't try to fight it all the time, especially when you're shooting outdoors, because when you fight the ambient so hard, it's hard to see the environment and appreciate the beauty of the environment that you are shooting in. So that's one big mistake a lot of beginners make. Once they realize the flashes can go this fast or this high, they just blow everything out with the flashes. So make sure you don't do that. All right, this is my philosophy: go big or go home when it comes to soft boxes. Now, you can get very good creative shots with hard light. You don't even need any diffuser, you just need a bulb and stuff like that, but you have to know what you're doing. So I would say start learning with soft light. Soft light is very forgiving. Soft light is very forgiving. It makes a lot of things it flatters a lot of faces. And hard light, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know where the shadows are falling, how you want them to fall, and you can't just have hard light on somebody's face without knowing what you're doing. So start with soft light and work your way and slowly learn hard light. I know some people say do it the other way, but this is just my personal take on it. So soft light, then work your way to hard light. Soft light is when you take a small source of light and then you make it a big source of light, so that the shadows are not harsh, the shadows are nice and diffuse, and you don't see very harsh shadows on people's faces. So that's one other tip I have for you guys. Another tip I have for off-camera flash is learn all you need to know about high-speed sync, and know when to use high-speed sync and when not to use high-speed sync. So for Nikon cameras, I believe you can use non-high speed sync flashes up to 1/250th of a second. For Canon, I believe it's 1/200th of a second. Now, once you shoot faster than 1/250th of a second, what happens is that instead of the flash going off once, it goes off in different strobes, because the shutter is closing so fast that not enough of the sensor is exposed to the image that is being taken. So it has to go off several times to expose the whole image. Now this takes a lot of battery power, and not every flash is high speed sync capable. So I hope I explained this well. So in fact, high speed sync, we need to do a special video on high speed sync so that you understand high speed sync. If you don't have to use high speed sync, don't use it, because even the most powerful flash I own is the AD600. Once you start using high speed sync, you lose so much power, and depending on the type of image you're trying to create, it might limit you. But just know the limitations of high speed sync, and then go ahead and use it when you need to, and when you don't need to use it, don't use it. All right. Back in the day, I would calibrate the light well for my subject, and then I'll start worrying about my environment. But what you need to do is make sure you set your camera up for the ambient. Make sure you decide how much of the sky, how much of the background do you want in this image. Forget about the subject. The subject can be pitch black, that's fine. Set that ambient, set the settings on the camera on that, and then leave the camera alone. Don't touch the settings on the camera. Go to your light and start bringing up your light slowly until your subject blends with the background the way you want. If you want more contrast, more light on your subject, and maybe a faster shutter speed or a smaller aperture, and that can give you more contrast and stuff like that. So these are just the basics. So I just want you to have these in your mind as you move forward, so you don't go buy different brands of flashes, different different brands of flashes and transmitters and stuff, and then you wouldn't be able to upgrade on that. So make sure you stick with one brand and upgrade on that. All right. The first flash you need to own is a speed light. Just get a speed light with a transmitter and play with that for a while. And then once you get your understanding right, then you can decide what else to get. The speed light. This is 3 times as powerful as this. Okay? And then this is 3 times as powerful as this. I'm not going into any specifics today, but next time I'm going to go into detail. I'm going to set up multiple speed lights, multiple strobes and flashes, and teach you how to start setting your groups and your channels. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe.